Hey everyone, welcome back
Let's
to
see.
my channel. I am Gillian
Mm.
and today we have a great episode in store for you guys. We have Clilnton on, and he is under the Fruit Kid online, and he has been doing raw till four for about 6 years now, and it has totally changed his life. So he's been vegan for about 9 years, and he
Mm.
noticed massive changes with energy, mood, all sorts of things when he went raw till four. So we're going to talk all about this today. Such an awesome guy. He also has a background in psychology and a great interest in spirituality as well. So we will bring that up. And let's say hello. Hey, Clilnton, how's it going?
Hiya, how's it going? How are you?
Good. I'm so happy to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I've been watching a lot of your content and yeah, I love it.
Thanks. I love your Instagram too. I love your content. Such good vibes. And it's going to be such a good one. So you do raw till four. So you've been doing this for about 6 years. I would love to talk about sort of your journey into being vegan and then what changes you noticed. Cause I don't think you had many changes until you went raw till four. So I would love to talk about that.
Okay, so my journey to veganism started uh, whenever I was around the age of like 15 or 16. I started having a lot of like skin issues, a lot of cysts and boils, and I would get a lot of like sort of like eye infections, things like conjunctivitis, and the main thing that was really sort of frustrating for me to deal with was the skin issues, the cysts and boils. So my family, we would go to the doctor, and they would be like, "Okay, we're just gonna put you on antibiotics." Okay, so we're gonna put you on multiple like rounds of antibiotics. And what I noticed is that my skin issues, they would get better.
Mm-hmm.
Like they would get better. I would feel relief, within a week they'd be gone. But as soon as I stopped taking those antibiotics, they would come back. They would
Mm-hmm.
come back. And they were so painful that, I would get them in like my armpits, groin, my back area. I remember times in school wherever I was like sitting down, it was just uncomfortable to sit down, it was uncomfortable to stand, it was uncomfortable to play sports. And I was just dealing with this for years. And then at the age of 19, I was in university, like 16 miles away from home. And I just remember sort of going through like a bad spell of just having so many breakouts and so issues. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm away from my family, like, I'm away from the people who knew of what I was going through, because like, I didn't really like talking about it too much. And I remember just feeling so desperate, like in my room one day, and just being like, something has to change, like, something has to change. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, I need to figure this out. Because before then, they were like, oh, maybe like it's the soap or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You need to like change your pillow or something like that, or you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I looked it up online, and they were like, diet has no connection with any of this. And I was just like, oh, okay. And I had friends were like, yeah, no, it's not diet. Maybe you need to drink more water. Um, and it wasn't until like I started doing research, watching a lot of TED Talks and stuff like that. I came across, information that showed that like, a lot of Black people were like lactose intolerant. So that kind of got me re-questioning the, dairy products. And I watched a TED Talk by John McDougall. I don't know exactly in what sequence this was, but I remember coming across a TED Talk by John McDougall, and he absolutely slayed it in that video. Like, the information he was just spitting was just amazing. I was just like, this guy is dropping a lot of gems about, like, the plant-based diet and what he noticed about um the people he was taking care of, and whenever they moved away from their traditional foods of like rice and vegetables to consuming more animal products and more oils and stuff like that. And I was just sold. So from there I was like, I'm gonna give this a try. Um and around the first week of trying more like a vegan lifestyle, I wasn't even perfect because I was still eating like corn, which like at the time it had like eggs in it. But even in that 1 week of trying it, like, I started to notice tremendous improvements in my skin issues, where the only thing that helped before was antibiotics. So
Wow.
I was
Crazy.
just sold. I was just sold from there.
I think
Mm,
dairy can be such a huge thing for skin. I know you hear
oh
like
my
Woody
god.
Harrelson said he had the worst skin, and then this girl came up to him on a bus and was like, "Your acne, like this is from
Mhm,
dairy. Cut it, and the
mhm,
acne will be gone." He said like 3 days later it was gone. I think that's common for a lot of people. When I removed dairy and
mhm.
gluten, it was like a huge change. So that's
Yeah,
great. So
big
you
time.
did notice some
Big time.
changes when you went vegan, but then you did
Mm.
like you didn't feel like you were in perfect health, right? Like you, it's
Yeah, like initially, whenever I went starch based, because I was a noob, I was a beginner, like I had to sort of learn how to like cook these like meals myself. So I was eating a lot of like oily stuff, like veggie burgers, oily chips and stuff like that. But yourself, like the more you study this lifestyle and like sort of the educators in this lifestyle, you'll come across like plant-based doctors like John McDougall or Cardwell Esselstyn who are just shouting from the rooftops, no oil. They'd be like, no oil, no oil, no oil. And I remember,
Yeah.
I remember John McDougall in this one video he had about acne. He was just like, the fat in your diet is the most controllable cause of acne. And I was just like, right, okay, I need to go low fat, cut out the oil, more whole foods. And whenever I did that, I saw even more dramatic improvements in my sort of skin issues, so and energy levels. I just felt a lot better, and I noticed, like, I just was sold on the lifestyle because I could eat so much more, I have more energy, and my skin was sort of like clearing up. But you're right, I didn't know what I was missing in relation to like a fruit-based lifestyle until I started studying people like Arnold Barrett, and I came across the Rots of Four community. So
Hmm.
that's when the trajectory started to kind of change for me.
Yeah. And for anybody who doesn't know what raw tofu is, could you explain it? And then could you explain exactly like what you do, what you eat on raw tofu, and the
Mhm.
benefits you've noticed from that?
Okay, so Rota 4 is basically whenever you consume raw foods that haven't been cooked for breakfast and lunch, and then dinner you consume a high carb, whole food, plant based meal. So throughout the day, you could be having things like bananas, dates, persimmons, mangoes. You could be putting them in smoothies. You could be having salads, green smoothies, um, and juices as well. Can't forget the juice, carrot juice, fruit
Mhm.
juice, green juice. And then in dinner, it's like whole foods, potatoes, rice, corn, sweet potatoes, soup, stews, and my typical day, because I'm obsessed with dates, I'm obsessed with dates. um, I sometimes joke that I'm like 50% dates, 50% is made out of dates.
They are so good.
Um,
Dates are
they're
really
so
good.
good. They're so good. So my typical day would mainly be like a smoothie with bananas, dates, maybe like a green smoothie. And I normally just have one massive smoothie and wait like 6 7 hours and then have one big dinner. That's like, I think that's my preferred way of eating instead of like sort of snacking throughout the day. So something like 600 grams of dates, which is a lot of dates, couple cups of berries, couple handfuls of spinach or kale. And then dinner time would be like steamed rice. I mean, your steamed rice, lots of veggies. Sometimes I put beans, pea sauce, kimchi, and like some chopped up like lettuce or something like that. Mm.
Hmm. Awesome. And do you
Mm.
think there's a difference in how
Mm.
people cook their food and how it affects the body? Like, for instance, like, do you ever
Mm.
barbecue? Do you think there's a difference in like the way the
Mm.
food affects your body if you were to like have barbecued corn or like barbecued food or
Mhm.
deep fried food? Or like, do you make a conscious effort not to do that with your cooking? Or you know what I mean?
I think that's a very good point. I think that's a very good point. I did notice that whenever I cooked with oil, like I felt more greasy, more sluggish, didn't feel like the glucose was entering my cells as efficiently, more tired, more lethargic, and I was getting like lots of skin breakouts and stuff like that. Even if it was like a perfectly like whole food plant based meal, but I glog oil on it, I just never feel good. Um, and in relation to barbecue, like I don't really barbecue that much, mainly because like just my understanding of acrylamides and how the more you burn something, the more toxins the more toxins are produced in that food. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't say it's like the end of the world if you're like baking like oil-free potatoes and stuff like that. I wouldn't say,
Hmm.
but yeah, apart from the oil, I wouldn't say barbecuing food would be the worst thing. I think the more raw you eat and the more sort of like raw food you eat, I think you react a lot more negatively to barbecued foods. It's
Hmm.
more kind of apparent because the system is so used to foods that aren't sort of heated in that way. But I think if you're consistently eating that, or you come from a standard American diet or something like that, then go into like baked baked potatoes and stuff like that ain't gonna be a problem for you, or barbecued like oil-free food ain't gonna be that much of an issue for you.
Yeah, good points, good points. Yeah, I
Mm.
follow, Gerson, the Gerson Institute, where they do some healing
Mm.
there. I know, like,
Okay.
when I first went raw, I read their book, and I know that they say there's like a huge difference in how they cook the food, because they still do some
Okay.
healing. They use a lot
Mhm.
of raw, but they do some healing with some cooked too. And they say it's like a
Mhm.
huge difference, the method you use to cook too. So I think that's really important, and the effect it has on the human body.
Mhm.
So I'd love to talk about to the effect this has had on your moods. Any
Mhm.
like, were you always this happy, or like before being raw till four? Like, did you notice any improvements in like mood, happiness, like positive thoughts, any of that?
Yeah. So whenever I went starch based initially, I was kind of like, wow, this is good. I feel great. I was like, this is fantastic. This is working, right? And then whenever I came across Arnold Barrett, and he was just like, fruit is the way. Fruit is the food of humans, and he just sold fruit so well, and a fruit based lifestyle so well, that I remember giving it a try. I had like a meal of dates. This was in university. Like I would buy like a thing of dates and like some clementines, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna make a meal.
Yeah.
So this is new for me, making a meal, African background, eating like lots of like fried foods and stuff like that, and like growing up on like eggs and toast and stuff in the morning. I remember like just making a meal of fruit, and whenever I did that, I just remember just feeling so good. Like I felt so good that I was just like, right, okay, there's definitely something to this. And then whenever I came across the Rotter 4 community and I started like just smashing down like bananas and dates and smoothies and stuff, I just noticed that my energy levels was just so much better. Like my energy levels were a lot more cleaner, and I felt a lot more lighter, and I felt more positive. Yeah, I felt more positive, more sociable. I felt like I had more energy to be able to sort of give to others. Whereas on starch base, like I noticed that whenever I eat raw tofu for some time, and then I go back to starch base, I notice the dip. I'm, it's not as I don't feel as vibrant, is what I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
say.
Mm-hmm.
So
And have you ever done fully raw?
I have, I
Yeah.
have. Yeah, I have. And like I really do respect people who are fully raw. I
Yeah.
really do, because I really believe that that is how humans are supposed to eat. Like I really believe that. I kind of feel like someone who's non-vegan being like, I really respect vegans. I really
Yeah. No.
sometimes I feel that way about raw foodists.
I think it's hard though for a lot of people to commit to fully raw. And I think I know a lot of
Yeah.
my viewers are not fully raw, and they can
Mhm.
totally relate to your story. So I'm so excited to have you on.
Good, good. Thank you. Yeah, so like I have tried fully raw. I think the longest I've done is like maybe like 30 days, like full on.
Wow.
And I honestly feel the best whenever I'm fully raw. I feel the best. But the only thing is I noticed that I just cannot sustain it.
Yeah.
I just can't sustain it. I really want to, but like I just get pulled back to like potatoes and rice
Yeah.
and,
I get
and
it.
rice noodles and sushi and
Yeah. And I mean, it seems to be working for
so,
you, right? Like you're so happy. It's
mm,
really clearly working. So like everybody's got to do what works for them. And like I
mhm,
think raw till four is great. And
mhm,
have you noticed any differences with weight? I don't know how your weight compared to before or now. Like have there been any
mm.
changes there?
Well, I've always kind of been a lean bean. I've
Mm-hmm.
always kind of been a lean bean. Maybe more like skinny fat than actual just like lean. But I noticed that like whenever I went vegan, like I especially whenever I did things like I did the potato diet.
Mm-hmm.
I did the
Yeah.
potato diet for like 30 days because I just saw like high carb Hannah and stuff doing it, and I was like, I'm gonna jump on this.
And how was
And
that?
it was good. It was good. I don't think a lot of people realize this, but like I know Arnold Barrett talks about this in his foods, but different sort of starches affect you differently. And I find that potatoes, out of all the starches, like make me feel the best. Like
Wow.
potatoes make me feel the best out of all the starches. I would definitely rate them number one.
And does it matter
Um,
which potato? Like sweet potato, white potato, yellow potato,
I, fe-
baby
I feel
potato?
like it's just I feel like it's just potatoes, just
Wow.
potatoes in general, just like regular white potatoes, sweet potatoes. I feel great. So I did lose some weight on the potato diet, but I've never been like really chubby or overweight. Whenever I was eating a lot of, there was a period where I was like really eating a lot of oats. I was like smashing down like a kilogram bag of oats every 3 days or more.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing this for a good period of time. I did gain about 10 kilos more than I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
that was probably the heaviest I've ever been. And then whenever I switched back to like just sort of like going lots of for high carb rice, potatoes and stuff like that, then I lost it. I lost it again. So I've never really been like massively overweight, no.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. And if somebody wants to try this and like, where do I start? Like, do you have any advice for
Mhm.
somebody, like the best way to transition?
Oh, I would say definitely first you have to really want to do it. I would say educate yourself on the lifestyle, educate yourself on the people who promote the lifestyle. Um, just look at, people who are eating raw to four, look at the sort of experts in the raw vegan world and look at the experts in the just whole food plant-based world, because it is both of those worlds just combined in one day. And I would say start with fruit for breakfast. I would say start with fruit for breakfast. Really get into the habit of buying lots of dates, buying lots of bananas. Um, I would say lean more towards dates just because they're easy, especially at the beginning,
Yeah. At
because
the beginning. Yeah.
you don't have to, there's no ripening, you don't have to like wait, like have this rotation going on. But I would say definitely buy lots of bananas, dates, stock up on rice, potatoes, frozen vegetables, and just go start with fruit for breakfast. And then the week after, try like a smoothie and stuff for lunch. And then the week after that, try like a high carb, low fat dinner. And just make sure to eat enough and don't restrict yourself in the beginning, because a lot of people are used to just sort of like restricting their portions because they're eating such high fat diets.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say eat more because it's got more bulk. It's got more. It'll make you feel like fuller with all the fiber content, and yeah, just go from there. Just keep educating yourself.
Mm-hmm. Good
Mhm.
points. And why do you think it's important to do low fat? What effect do you think it can have on our bodies if we're doing like high fat versus low fat?
It's a very good question. I believe that whenever you eat a low fat diet, it just allows you to be able to, like, if you're someone who's struggling with you're overweight or obese and you're trying to lose that weight, whenever you go low fat, it allows your body to be able to sort of deal with the rest of the fat, and it allows you to be able to lose that in like a more efficient manner. Like I think that the higher the fat content, especially if you go really high fat, um, your blood glucose levels are going to be affected because the cells are going to be coated in a layer of fat, and the sugar is going to have a lot harder time getting in there. So you're going to just struggle with energy issues. So I would say lowering the fat just overall just makes you feel a lot better. And if your goal is weight loss and you don't want to have to portion
Mm-hmm.
control like crazy, then I would say a low fat diet would be the best way to do that. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, fat is 9 calories per gram, where carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram. So a lot less fat calories are going to produce the same amount of total calories as if you were eating sort of carbohydrates. So you get to eat more abundantly whenever it's low fat, but when it's high fat, you have to really just mitigate your portions and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, and it's one of the hardest things to digest, right? So like we
oh, big
typically for the
time.
average person, I think you have to
Mhm.
try it out for yourself. I know some people say they can thrive on high fat, but for me, I definitely
Mhm.
feel better like the lower the fat. And
Big
so
time.
you typically, I interviewed Dr. Doug Graham. So he's like 80-10-10, but more
Yeah.
raw. But I know like there's a
Okay.
community that follows 80-10-10 that's not raw. So
Mhm.
like you pretty much
Mhm.
stick to 80-10-10, right?
Big time. Yeah, big time. Because again, like even with the issues that I was going through with my skin and my energy levels and everything like that, whenever I eat a lot of plant fats, even if they're healthy, they've got like micronutrients and all that, um, I can still have issues. I can
Mm-hmm.
still have issues. And I don't know if you know Nina and Randa. I think I said their name wrong. I think it's Amanda, Nina and Amanda.
I don't know.
Um,
I don't know.
and but they're these twins, and they suffer from skin issues. And whenever they eat a lot of things like nuts, seeds, avocados, and stuff like that, it sort of flares up and comes back. So I'm the same.
Hmm.
I can handle like a small amount of seeds, but if I eat things like a lot of avocados, I break out, and I break out really, really bad. So I tend
Mm-hmm.
to avoid that and stick to like 80-10-10. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
Mm-hmm.
I know some people, if they do like raw tofu, if they have something after their cooked dinner that's raw,
Mm-hmm.
like they
Mm-hmm.
have like a dessert or something raw, I feel like
Yeah.
that can really mess with your digestion because the cooked meal can take a bit more to digest, right? So if then you have like
Yes.
fruit or like something after a green
Mm-hmm.
juice, like it might really mess with your digestion. You might be like, this isn't working. But so I feel like with raw tofu, the best is to like maybe end it with that cooked food and not have like anything raw till the next day. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you have anything after the cooked meal, or do you think it's best to stop there?
I 100% think that if you have a big cooked meal, potatoes, rice, beans, lentils, and all these different things, and then you try to eat like a fruit meal on top of that, I think it's going to cause a bit of issues. Obviously, for some people, they have like super digestion. They're on
Mm-hmm.
them. They've been getting their microbiome down, or I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. But for
Yeah.
me for me it just like it just doesn't digest, it just doesn't digest well. Like having like a food that's a simple digesting food on
Mm-hmm.
top of things that are like really complex, and things that take time to digest, and having like a fruit on top of that. Yeah, I don't think you should, I don't think you should eat like a fruit meal on top of like a heavy starch based meal.
Yeah, 100%. And do
Mhm.
you do any intermittent fasting? And also, what are your thoughts on like, have you done any fast as far as water fast, dry fast,
Mhm.
juice
That's a good
fast,
question.
mono fruit fast?
It's a good question. Well, because of, if anyone is in the raw community or even looking in that direction, you are going to come across a lot of stuff about fasting, water fasting, dry fasting, juice fasting, especially if you're watching people like John Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I have tried a juice fast. I've tried a juice fast. The longest I did was 30 days, 30 days on a juice fast. But looking back, I regretted it.
Wow.
I regretted it. I regretted doing it because at the end of the juice fast, I just felt like my digestion, like it took so long for my digestion to sort of get back to normal.
No way. Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I remember eating carrots and being like, oh, you know, yeah. I remember eating carrots and being like, oh man, that feels so bad. Like,
Yeah.
and it just took too long for my digestion to sort of get back to normal. And I saw a lot of people who would do juice fast, and then they would go back to eating animal products. They would binge eat,
Mm-hmm.
and like they would gain a lot of weight after, if people who are doing it just for weight loss reasons. So generally speaking, I'm not really an advocate for fast. I'm not really like
Mm-hmm.
if it's like a raw, like you're like, oh, like I'm a cooked food vegan, I'm gonna do like raw till for a month just to see what it's like. Or
Yeah.
oh, I'm just gonna eat potatoes and vegetables and fruits for a month. I think that'd be fine. And I think if someone maybe has like a really severe disease, and maybe they go to like True North Health Center or something like that, and
Yeah.
they've got like supervision, I think, I think that's fine. But generally speaking, I would say there's a lot more things to focus on correcting, like your
Mm-hmm.
sleep, your diet, your exercise, your social relationships, whether you're like dealing with
Mm-hmm.
stress. There's a lot more things to focus on than just being like, maybe water fasting is going to be the solution for that. So I
Yeah.
would say if a lot of people are nailing those other things down and their problems are still persisting, and you're getting expert advice, and someone's like, maybe water fast is the way to go, then I would say go to a clinic like True North Health Center and do it. But
Yeah.
generally
Absolutely.
speaking, no, I'm not really for fast.
Yeah, good points. And I feel like you can still heal a lot of things without having to go on those fasts. Like I know for me, when I first went raw, I had a lot of health problems like digestive
Mm,
issues, skin
mhm,
issues, panic attacks, like all kinds of problems.
mhm,
And just I didn't do any fast for like I did my first juice cleanse like 4 years in or 3 years in, I
mhm.
think. And I had
How long
healed
was it?
everything just on like the raw food. So like I don't think, I mean, everybody's different. I think if people are called to do them, it's amazing. And I love sharing like the experiences of different cleanses and stuff. Like
Mhm.
I've interviewed people that have done like 1 year on juice and stuff. Like it's crazy. And I
Yeah,
just love like
that's
hearing the
crazy.
stories.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I would do like maybe like a week on smoothies or something like that. Like
Yeah.
I think that would be fine because you're still getting the fiber and stuff like that. But yeah, that's 200. Would you say 200 days?
Well, I interviewed somebody, John. He was awesome. He did 200 days. But this other
200
girl, Sarah
days.
Erica, she did 365 days. And, she was in a wheelchair at
What?
the beginning. She had been to so many
Whoa.
doctors and they were just like, sorry, like there's nothing else we can do at this point. So
Mhm,
she's like, I may as well just try juicing. And so she was in a
That's
wheelchair at the
insane.
beginning. The last day of the juice cleanse, she was running a marathon. Literally made me cry. Watch the video. It was just like
No, stop it.
yeah. So like I love sharing stories
Yeah.
like that, but I totally respect and like relate to your opinion on like on everything you just said with them though. I totally 100%.
That's insane though. That's insane. That's pretty inspiring. That's
Yeah.
pretty inspiring. I think for the majority of people who are just like, yeah, I got a bit of weight to lose and stuff like that. Like I don't think like a 200-day juice fast would be for them, or like a year-long thing. I don't think
Yeah, I
they'd have to do
know.
that. Yeah.
100%.
I
I know
feel a bit
John.
tired 1 year juice fast.
Yeah. John, who I interviewed, he's in Florida. I interviewed him on day 200. He's still going. Like as of today, I think he's on like day 225, 230. He's just like, he says he's had more energy than ever. He's making more money than he's ever made. It's like, it's really working for him. So it's pretty cool to follow and see. So I'm wondering with Raw Till 4, what does your typical like weekly food haul look like? And do you feel like you're able to keep it on a budget, or do you think the costs are high? Like how do things look there, if you don't mind sharing?
No, that's a good question. Yeah, like I couldn't tell you exactly how much money I spend every week, but if you look at the staples that are on a Raw Till 4 lifestyle, things like potatoes, things like rice, things like pasta, rice noodles, beans, lentils, frozen vegetables, fresh vegetables. A lot of the times, especially those staples, especially on the starch-based side of things, they're very cheap. They're very cheap. Rice is cheap, potatoes are cheap, rice noodles are cheap, beans are cheap, lentils are cheap. And on the fruit side, mainly big boxes of bananas or buying bananas, those are really, really afford, like, they're good price fruits. Dates are really, really, budget friendly for the per calories. A 600-gram bag of dates that I buy cost me like £2. Don't know what that would be in dollars. And that provides me with like 1,500, 1,600 calories. So relatively speaking, yeah, the it's very, very budget friendly. I think if you really wanted to save money, you would go 100% starch based. But again, I wouldn't really recommend that because I don't think you'd feel as good as you would feel on something like Russell 4.
And do you count your calories? How many calories do you typically consume?
That's a good question. I know you can put away like thousands.
Yeah. I actually eat a lot of calories.
How many calories do you have? All of them.
I eat a lot. Like typically I eat like 2,500 to 3,000 calories a day, usually, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. And I think that's a lot, but I mean, I feel great. And I'm pretty active.
How tall are you?
5'7".
5'7". Okay.
And I'm pretty active though. Are you active too? I know some people, they struggle when they're really active, when they're fully raw. Like I personally have a few friends that are like, I have to go back to like doing Raw Till 4 or something because they find it hard to do like cycling or like heavy gym workouts or stuff like that. I'm able to make it work, but are you active? And how do you make that work with your calories?
I think if you're gonna be active, you just have to know how to smash more calories in, and I think some people struggle with that in the raw food world. For me, I always say between 2,000 to 3,000, but it's never 2,000. If I'm honest with myself, it's never 2,000. It's more like 3,000, 3,500. Because one of my smoothies is like almost 2,000.
Oh wow!
One of my smoothies is almost 2,000. Because like with the dates, I put like a whole bag, like 600 grams of dates in my smoothie, and then if I'm adding bananas, 2 to 3 bananas, and then like a cup of berries, some green powders, spinach. So like what a smoothie could be like 2,000 calories, and then that's me. I'm done for like 6-7 hours, and then dinner, maybe like 2 to 3 cups of dry rice. And then lots of vegetables and greens like that. So I'm averaging probably around more closer to around 3,000, 3,500 per day. And I'm not like super skinny. Like I'm a sort of good weight,
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And what do you think are some mistakes? Like, are there any mistakes you feel like you've made along the way that looking back, if you were starting now, you'd do things differently? Or maybe some mistakes you think people make when they become vegan or Raw Till 4 that maybe you could help teach somebody out there right now?
Yeah, I would say living on, I didn't really do this personally, but I would just say people who are living on like fake meats and alternative, like sort of meat, like burgers and all these different things. And people who don't eat enough. I think at the beginning, you have to be more sort of conscious of getting enough calories if you're going whole food plant-based, you know. And I think people run into problems if they undereat, and they undereat for a long time, to the point where, you know, past foods that they used to love becomes really appetizing. Because
Mm-hmm.
whenever you're like starving yourself intentionally or unintentionally, other foods, just like the really high fat junk foods, become really attractive to you. Like, I didn't tell you about this,
Mm-hmm.
but during my juice fast, out of the 9 years I've been vegan, the one time I was even entertaining, even though I was disgusted by the idea in my head, I was like, oh no, I would never do that. The one time I was really drawn to watching animal product videos of people binge eating like burgers and all these different like the Nikocado style sort of
Yeah.
sort of videos, was whenever I was doing my juice fast.
I
And I
did
was just
that
like,
with same with me. Not
I
on
don't want to
on
watch
my
this,
fruit
but
fast. Yeah. 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 Same thing.
I was just like, that freaked me out. I was just like, I don't want to eat this, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
drawn to watching this. And in my head, I was like, looking back, I was like, is that because I was under eating? I don't know. Or is that because my body was like, this isn't normal? You know what I mean? Give me more food, like give me more calorically dense foods. So I've just sort of, that lesson on how I experience what I experience is really burned into my head, of why I tell people, make sure to eat enough, because you're gonna be tempted. Like, even if you don't want to be tempted, you're gonna be tempted by foods that you don't want to eat, or like that doesn't align with what you want to do. So I would say eat enough. And I would also say try to surround yourself with people who are living the same lifestyle. Can be very hard. That can be very hard depending on where you're at. I don't know what it's like in, do you say Canada?
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Mm-hmm.
live in
Canada.
Canada?
I'm in
Yeah.
Toronto.
I don't know what the vegan scene, raw food scene is like over there, but I would say definitely try to meet someone who shares a similar lifestyle, because your social circle, your
Mm-hmm.
friends, your family, your peers, they have a massive influence on your sort of thoughts and decisions. And I know a lot of people escape the matrix by just going online and just sort of absorbing a lot of information from like people online and stuff like that. Like, so I know some people don't like have the opportunity to meet other people, and I see that that's a good choice for them. But I would say definitely try to surround yourself with people who are living the same lifestyle as you.
Mm-hmm.
That would help greatly.
I agree. It helps so much. We need that. You know what I mean? Whether it's online,
Mm-hmm.
in person, hopefully both.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, what do you think about when people say that eventually all vegans will deteriorate? Like,
I
and do
just
you check your blood work? Do you
I don't
supplement or you do
agree.
check your blood work?
I don't agree with the sort of vegan deterioration thing, because I haven't seen someone who like is just like, oh, this vegan thing just didn't work for me, who was in a situation where they were like eating enough, they were taking their B12, they were having issues, and they went to a doctor, a plant-based doctor, and being like, can you check my blood work? What's, can I get an opinion on this? And they've actually shown, they're like,
Mm-hmm.
look, I did everything. I was taking my B12, I was eating enough. I went to a plant-based doctor. They told me this is the issue. I did the thing, and then it still didn't work. I went, no, I've never seen that. It's always been like, oh, like, I don't feel good, or like, I went to like some like naturopathic doctor that told me to like, I need fish and eggs. um so for me, like, all the plant-based doctors tell, like, and the dietetics of nutrition point that a vegan diet is suited for all stages of life. And you just got to do it right. I don't mess around with B12. I always take my
Mm-hmm.
B12. And that's the main one that like you should really be like dialing down. Like, out of all the supplements that you could be like sold to, I would say, B12 is a must, and that's what I take B12. I take vitamin D from like
Mm-hmm.
algae. Yeah, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you've come across that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, those are the two supplements that I would take.
That's good. I agree. I think
Mhm.
supplements are important. I didn't supplement
Mhm.
my when I first went raw vegan because I didn't believe in them. I was like, oh, I feel so great.
Mhm.
I don't need
Mhm.
them. I don't think they're natural. And that was like 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. I found out I was like deficient in B12. And so
Mhm.
now I think it's really, really important. I think we really need
I think so
B12.
too. I
Yeah.
think so too. And some people like in the raw community, some people, they don't take B12 at all, and
No.
they're fine. But I still don't think, like, I think people should still take B12.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't take B12, you just you're playing Russian roulette, So
Yeah.
I would say definitely do that. I didn't for the first like 3 years, and then like I got blood work done, and it said I was low in B12 and D. I think everybody's low in vitamin D in the West.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I take that now too. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Right.
everybody's low with vitamin D in the West. So those are the two ones I take. And
Yeah.
I don't agree with, like, I don't think humans need animal products to live.
Yeah.
Because just biologically speaking, I have never met anyone who was attracted to the idea of wanting to claw and rip animals just
I
just
know.
eat them raw, just like there and then. And people would say, well, no, we have tools, we have fire, we could like hunt them and stuff. But at some point we didn't have that. At some point we
I
didn't have
know.
that. And it doesn't make sense for nature to have a species that needs to create external tools and the use of fire just to be able to eat something. That never made sense in my head.
Me too. Me too.
And how can you have people who are disgusted by the idea of watching animal slaughter footages, but we're biologically designed to eat meat? Like, nobody gets feelings of disgust whenever they see a fruit farm.
Yeah, exactly. They say it's like the highest turnover job too, the people who work in the slaughterhouses. It's crazy. I mean, it makes sense that it's a high turnover. I remember when I was little, I was in like elementary school or something. One of my friends my mom was friends with a girl who was like a farmer, and we were out on her farm. And then one day I saw like the animals being like taken away on the truck, and I was like, what's happening? Where are they going? And they were like dragging them, and then they like told me what was happening. And then I went vegetarian or vegan, like right then when I realized like what was happening. And then I spent a long time off animal products. Then one day just randomly went back to them. And then, but now I'm off them, 6 years raw vegan. And I just feel I do it because I feel so much better off them. When I see like animal products now, I just have no desire to consume them and like put that energy inside me. I don't know. And speaking of energy, like I'd love to talk a little bit about spirituality. I find your Instagram so inspiring. I feel like you're a really deep spiritual person as well. So I'm just wondering, how do you feel like diet can affect us spiritually, and how do you feel like it has done so for you?
Well, I started doing yoga whenever I was in university. So maybe at the age of 19 or 20. Soon after like I started adopting like a more vegan lifestyle. And around the same time was whenever I was getting into things like meditating and just a lot of doctrine. I don't know if you know a guy called Thich Nhat Hanh.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah, I have his books.
He's great. So I had like a small one of his, like a small book of his, just like of these like amazing sort of like inspiration, through the day. And so learning a bit about Buddhism and learning a bit about spirituality and meditating and doing yoga, I would always come across things like ahimsa, where it's like, do no harm, basically just trying not to like just inflict suffering on other sentient beings. So for me, I think a diet of not eating animals and not wanting to harm animals is in line with spirituality, because for me, if I believe in the doctrine that we are all one and everything is connected, and I also understand fundamentally that human beings can live on a plant-based lifestyle, fruit-based lifestyle, then I could never want to harm an animal by eating them if I don't have to. So for me, it's connected in just like a way of being. And I think for me, veganism is connected to spirituality, because I believe that we're all one, we're all energy, and I don't want to harm an animal whenever I don't have to,
Absolutely. And I know on your Instagram page, I remember, I think you posted a while ago, but it was like that scale of like the ultimate consciousness. Do you know which scale I'm talking about? Where like at the lowest, it's like, I'll put it on the screen right now. But at the lowest, it's like shame, and it's like 20 or something, the scale number. And then as you move your way up, like love, joy, everything is like higher and higher. And that's like our vibration and our level of consciousness, right? So how do you think we can like raise and get ourselves up to those higher levels when we're like not feeling so good?
Yeah, well, I think for me personally, I think raising your vibration is a combination of like mental practices and physiological practices. Like it's hard to be namaste, peace, love, man. If
Mhm.
you're like undercarbed, dehydrated, you haven't moved your body, you're sedentary for like 10 hours a day, and you just haven't left the house. So
Mhm.
I would say physiologically speaking, you want to get good sleep, you want to exercise, you want to eat it, you want to eat well, high carb, low fat, lots of fruits and vegetables. And from the other aspect, laughter,
Mhm.
actually engaging in things that make you laugh, watching things that make you laugh, and just being around people that make you laugh. I think that's a good way to lift your spirits even if you're down and out. Listening to positive music, listen to music that just sort of gets
Mhm.
you in the zone. I love dancing. I love dancing so much. Going out and just socializing and dancing, I think that's a good way to lift your vibration. Meditating is an absolutely fantastic way to sort of raise your vibration, because it gets you more into the present moment, and you realize just how much your thoughts pull you away from the present moment whenever you meditate, because like you're constantly sort of like just seeing your thought pop up, and like you sometimes jump in the sort of vehicle of a thought, and it just takes you down a path,
Mhm.
and then you kind of like breathe again. You're like, okay, back to the present moment. So I think it really just teaches you how to be present, because I do think a lot of worry and stuff like that just comes from just an untamed mind.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I'd say, yeah, maybe it's reading positive material,
Yeah, you sound like
Yeah.
such a positive guy. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And
Mm.
I love what you're saying about the laughter thing. I think that's so true. Like watching funny things. I noticed like I was having a bad day the other day, and then I
Mhm.
just like put on some Bob Menery. I don't know if you know who that is, but he does these like
Hey.
Bob Menery sports commentaries. They make me laugh so hard.
I have no idea who that is.
And he just does these really funny sports commentaries, and it just like instantly changes my vibe. So I think it's like so
Mm.
important.
Have you ever
Yeah.
tried have you ever tried laughter yoga?
No, I haven't. I didn't even know it was such a thing.
Yeah, laughter yoga is basically where you do exercises that self-induce laughter. They're very goofy, but they're supposed to be goofy in a way to make you laugh. Um, and it's just, there's people who are in groups and communities and stuff like that where they meet up, and there's like 10 people, and one person's leading it, and they're doing all these laughter yoga exercises, and like they're all just like bursting into like laughter and tears, and like it's allowing them just to sort of release all these emotions.
Wow.
Because some people are even afraid to laugh. They're like, oh, I don't want to be seen laughing.
Yeah. Wow.
So so yeah, definitely look into laughter yoga. It's
Yeah, I
really
will.
it's a really interesting thing. Yeah.
That's really
Mm.
cool. And with the hydration, I know you're saying hydration. Hydration is really
Mhm.
important, I think. Like I know a lot of people don't realize, but it can be a bit like a really common thing to experience like a little bit of depression and anxiety when you're just dehydrated though. You need more water. So I'm wondering like on raw till 4, how much water do you typically drink in a day?
That's a very good point, and I'm glad you brought up the hydration. Yeah, like I noticed that the fastest way to depression on a raw to 4 lifestyle is just being super dehydrated, being dehydrated. Like you could be like, what's going on? I'm eating the fruits, I'm eating the rice, the potatoes, the vegetables, and stuff like that. Why don't I feel good? A lot of the times it's you're just dehydrated. And there's studies that show like a 2% decrease in hydration levels starts to dramatically decrease cognitive performance. So so for me personally, I've like experimented, but anywhere from 4 to 6 liters a day
Mhm.
is what I
Mhm.
need.
Mhm.
And some people would look at that and be like, my goodness.
Mhm.
My goodness, that's a lot. But just this is what I noticed. A gallon, or 6 liters
Yeah.
is my ideal. Mm.
Yeah, amazing. And you know, I just interviewed Dr. Aris Latam. Do you know him? He's just a real legend.
Yeah, yeah,
He
no, I
has
love him. I
he
love
has
him.
not had water in over 40 or 44 years. I forget what it was. He
But
doesn't
he
drink
but he
he
he lives
drinks
in a coconut
living
farm
water.
though. Like, isn't
Yeah.
he? He's like
Coconut water, vegetable water, fruit. And he doesn't supplement either. I was like, "What? He doesn't take
Yeah,
any
no, that's
B12."
insane. That's
Yeah.
insane.
He
And I
is
think if it works for him,
yeah.
great. But I don't think that will work across the board.
Yeah.
I don't think that was gonna work across the board. Yeah.
He's so awesome though. I really
Mhm.
think he's such a cool guy. Well, this has been so great. I'm just wondering, like, to
Yeah.
end things off, do you have any advice for anybody out there who wants to get started on this or who might
Mhm.
be like struggling with their health right now and is
Mhm.
feeling kind of like hopeless, doesn't know where to go, or like anything that comes to mind at all?
I would say desire, you have to really want it. You have to be willing to be able to just surround yourself with the influence that you want to be, because your whole life you've been surrounded by the influence that have brought you to where you're at now. Parents, family, friends, society, media. So I would say you have to make a conscious decision to surround yourself with the books, the people, the information, the accountability, to move in this direction. Because, for some people, it can be really, really tough. And it's not because fundamentally what they have to do is tough, because everybody can enjoy a tasty plant-based meal. It's just all the mental stuff with dealing with people and rejection and family members telling you you can't do it, and you're watching all these ex-vegan videos and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So so I say you have to really want it, and you have to sort of create, I would definitely say create affirmations around it. Create affirmations around the person you want to be. There was times whenever I was even struggling to do oil free, because that unconscious pull of your past habits of getting the takeaway with your friends and stuff, and like having the leftover pizza. And
Mhm.
so I remember just like writing down, I eat a vegan diet, oil free, 7 days a week. And I was just like ramming that into my subconscious mind. So sometimes you have to do a lot of mental work, but on a practical level, just make sure to eat enough. Just have good examples. Just have really good examples around you. I was very fortunate that the people that I was looking at, they were really just promoting just eat enough food, eat enough calories, make sure you eat enough, get your fruits and vegetables in. John McDougall was a fantastic sort of force for just that sort of direct, hardcore information. Like, this is it.
Mhm.
So that's what I would say. Eat enough, surround yourself with the right type of people, and do a lot of mental work to be able to sort of sustain this lifestyle long term. And
Mhm.
make sure to take your B12.
Great points. And I have to ask you, I forgot to ask, for anyone who's wondering, where do you get your protein and what high protein, like plant sources, do you typically consume in your diet?
Mhm. Well, I would like to say that like you can get protein, like everything has protein unless it's like oil or oil
Mhm.
and white sugar.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say the bulk of my protein just comes from just eating enough, 3,500 calories. Um, I always like just get adequate enough protein, to meet my needs. I work out, I do body weight exercises. But if you're looking at the diet specifically, what's the highest sources of protein? I would say like broccoli, peas, greens, would be sort of the highest concentration of protein in my diet. Mhm.
Absolutely nice. Well, it's been so awesome talking to you. I think you're
Yeah.
such a great person,
Yeah.
such good
Thank
vibes.
you.
Yeah, I'd
Thank
love
you.
to
Thank
have
you
you
very
back on
much.
in the future too, and maybe talk more
Mhm.
about like the subconscious mind. I know you're like so spiritual on
Ooh.
your page, and I love all
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And where
definitely.
can everybody find you?
Well, on my YouTube, Fruit Kid, and on my Instagram, Fruit Kid. And yeah, those that's where I mainly sort of operate. I'm more on Instagram. So if you want to reach me, try Instagram. But yeah, those two platforms.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, guys, go follow Clilnton. He's awesome. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you
Mm.
did, give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe if you don't already. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.